Tell me about the women in your life, because there seems a sense in which you say in the book you've measured women by your mother. Is that right?
Well, I have a wonderful mother, a great mother, and I don't say I measure women by my mother, but I have a woman in my mother who's a terrific woman. And I've been married to two very nice women, but it just didn't work out. And I think part of that, one of the negatives to success is that there are lots of obstacles thrown in your way in terms of relationship. First of all, time, but even your own mental psyche. I mean, my thing is I'm thinking about deals and I'm thinking about these great buildings all over and, you know, that I'm doing. And I'm building the largest job ever approved by the New York City Planning Commission on the West Side. You know, that's a thought process. There's a lot of things that I'm doing and building. And I'm thinking about that maybe as opposed to relationship. I'm not saying that in a positive way. I'm saying it almost in a negative way, because it's very negative in terms of relationship. And success may be great in terms of living and lifestyle and beautiful homes and apartments and boats and planes and all of the stuff that doesn't mean very much. But success is not necessarily very good for a relationship.
Women are far stronger than men, you say. You really believe that?
I believe that women are actually stronger than men, and I actually say that they're not so much stronger, but I think they're more aggressive than men.
And their sex drive makes us look like babies.
I think that the women's sex drive is actually as good or greater than a men's sex drive. And I mean, I've been witness to it, and perhaps you have if you're lucky, but sex drive of women is extraordinary. And they like to portray themselves as the weaker sex, but the weaker sex doesn't exist, believe me. I think they're certainly the more aggressive sex. And even in business, I found that some women are just more aggressive, and I don't exactly know why. And I say this with respect. I don't say this with scorn, with anything else. I say this out of great respect. But I think that women, in many cases, are more aggressive than men.
You've seen that sex drive firsthand. You talk about the woman of great social pedigree. And the dinner party that you went to. Tell me about that.
Well, I've had a lot of circumstances where a woman's sexual drive has turned out to be just extraordinary and not necessarily anticipated by me. And I write about this in the book, and it's pretty good stuff.
This was really a specific dinner, though, wasn't it?
This was a specific dinner, and
what happened?
Well, I'd rather let the book speak to it, because, to be honest, it's almost embarrassing talking about it in an interview. But because it really is mostly a business book, but I think that women have a lot to do with business. They have a lot to do with the effect on your life and how they affect your life. They have a huge amount to do with it.
She embarrassed you, though, this woman. I mean, you don't name her in the book, but she embarrassed you.
I would never name her. Somebody else wrote a book and named all the women that he had, as he said, conquered. And
it was playing with the feet under the table, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And it was a whole thing. And it led to something that was sort of interesting. And it just wasn't a very good thing, especially with her husband sitting on the other side of the table. And there are so many instances like this, and I do talk about them in the book, and they're interesting. It's not what the book is all about, but the book is about success, and frankly, women so influence you and the world around you that I devote a lot of time to women in the book.
You say women have one of the great acts of all time. The smart ones act very feminine and needy, but inside they're real killers. It sounds like you have almost this sort of love-hate relationship with women.
Well, I might. I mean, I have mostly a love relationship with women because I totally admire and respect and love women. I think women are incredible. But I really do. I feel that there is a... I feel that the smart ones are the ones that really go out and do it without waving the banner of women's liberation. And if you look at the really successful women, those are the ones that have not had to wave that big banner. They've just gone out and done it.
2 wives you've had, Ivana and Marla. What do you think of them now?
I have good relationships with both of them.
You've had fights. You're in an ongoing fight with one of them, or you were at the time the book was being written. But I
mean, we'll see. I'd rather be able to address that question sometime later, because at this moment I have a very good relationship with Ivana. I think I have a very good relationship with Marla, but I'll be able to tell you better in about a month or two. We'll find out.
You stress the importance, though, of the prenuptial agreement, even though you say it's a vicious and it's an ugly document, and people who sign it are 50% more likely to divorce than those who don't. But yet you stress this is a key to a happy marriage, is it?
Right. Well, prenuptial agreements are ugly, vicious, terrible documents that you have to have. I mean, it's if you're getting married and if you're a person of substance, man or woman of substance, you have to have a prenuptial agreement. And the reason is the word certainty. You need certainty over your business. You can't be going on for 10 years fighting over a divorce agreement. You need certainty. And you just have to have a prenuptial agreement.
And even when you do, you have battles, as you've shown. It's not foolproof, is it?
Even when you do. I mean, even when you have a, well, prenuptials are pretty foolproof, but they still fight, and people will still fight over prenups. I mean, the scores of people that have fought for more than their prenuptial agreements have given them are legion. But, you know, the prenuptials are very strong agreements and hold up.
Does it take the romance out of it?
Yeah, it does. It's always tough to go up to somebody and say, you know, gee, I love you very much, but if and when we get divorced, this is what you're getting. So, you know, would you agree to that? It's always really tough. It's a very unromantic agreement. There's nothing nice about a prenuptial agreement, but from a practical standpoint and living in this world and living through a very difficult court system and everything else, I think it's absolutely necessary for somebody to have one. And I mean, so important that I actually devote a chapter in the book to prenuptial agreements.
So you think that if you can sort out the finances, that somehow the relationship will take care of itself?
I think that finances and relationship are very, very different.
What don't the two ever go together?
I think that that finances, that great success often leads to bad relationship, unfortunately. I think that the reason that somebody becomes successful is that that focus is on his success, his or her success, not necessarily his or her relationship. But I think that there are times when both can work beautifully, and that's if you get the right partner. And getting the right partner is a very important thing in life. I mean, having the right partner can be a very beautiful thing in life, if you're lucky enough to do that.
You're taking a break from romance now?
I sort of am. I'm not, it's certainly not number one on my mind. I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing. It's just not number one on my mind.
Glad to be free?
I really am. I'm
available?
very happy.
Not that we're advertising.
No, no, no. I wouldn't want to advertise it because I think there's nothing like having a great relationship. I think having a great relationship is more important than deals and more important than everything else. I find that business comes very easy to me. Relationship is always a much more difficult thing. And I've just found that historically that's been the case. Most people would say it's just the opposite. It's easier to have a relationship. I think that relationship is based on so many different things that are adverse to business. And I think that having that great relationship does not necessarily go with having that great business.
Most important to you seem to be your children. Is that right? This matters to you a great deal.
Yeah, I have great children, and they're very important to me. And I think that's one of the great things that came out of both relationships.